Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all our viewers that are joining us for our Learn and Prayer this morning. Today's learning is dedicated in memory of all those whose short sight falls today, as well as all those that we are saying Kaddish for during the course of the year. So, Parshas V'eschanan, as we've already mentioned, is all about the events surrounding Kabbalas HaTorah, the giving of the Torah at Sinai, and the extraordinary experience, the divine revelation that the Jewish people experienced. So, one of the interesting statements that Moshe makes on reflecting on this momentous moment in Jewish history is he says, has there ever been a people that have experienced such extraordinary things as the giving of the Torah, of hearing the word of God, and then he says, and survived. The question Rav Mordechai Kamenetsky asks is, why is that seemingly redundant phrase needed? Just state, who experienced, wonders, miracles like the Jewish people. Why does it need to say and survived? And he tells an entertaining story about a would-be employee, and he comes to for the interview to the president of this firm, this company, and on being offered the job, he says, well, I hope you don't mind, but I'd like to know a bit about the terms and conditions, about the package. So he says, sure, ask away. So he says to him, well, I'd like to know, are there any holidays? Do I get holiday pay, 4 weeks holiday? He says, nope. No, there's no holiday pay. He says, well, is there a car? Do I get a car as part of the package? He says, no, there's no car. What about pensions? Sorry, no pensions. He says, sick pay? In my old job, I had 2 weeks sick pay. He said, no, sorry, there's no sick pay. He says, and in my old job, he said, when, I had an allowance for expenses, for everyday expenses in running around. He says, no, I'm sorry, we don't have that either. He said, so he went on and on about all the things that his other job had, and each time the president said, no, I'm sorry, we don't have that here. You can have 2 weeks holiday in August, but it's unpaid leave. So the president's becoming more exasperated, and the would-be employees becoming more and more disappointed. So the president says, listen, can we just stop where we are? Let me just ask you a very simple question. Each time you've asked me about one of these, the bonuses, the incentives, the benefits that you had in your old job that we don't have in our job, it sounds like your old job seemed to have all of these things. So why is it you would want to move firm? Why aren't you staying with your old job? Very simple, said the employee. You see, my old job, my old firm, it actually went bankrupt 2 weeks after it started. So that is the idea, said Rav Kamenetsky, in fact, that Moshe wanted to convey to the Jewish people. There are many people in history that can say we've seen fireworks, we've seen lightning, we've seen great wonders. But the Jewish people have a unique narrative which no one else can contend or compete with. And that is the national revelation, national divine revelation. In other words, that God spoke to each and every one of our foremothers. We were all, the core souls of every member of the Jewish people were there. And therefore, there is an unbroken chain that continues to this very day. Each generation have been passed the baton of our Masorah, of our tradition, of our Sinaitic insights and wisdom and traditions. And therefore, it is something not just which is wondrous, but it's something that has survived. Throughout all the vicissitudes and challenges and persecution and pogroms and tachvatat and everything else that we've had to endure as a nation, no one suffered more. Yet, our unbroken chain remains intact. And that in itself is miraculous. And that is perhaps one of the great miracles of the Jewish people themselves. The fact that we have maintained the gene, the spiritual gene of the Jewish people, the values which are enshrined on our consciousness, which are part and parcel of who we are. That is something that no nation has been able to wipe out or to eradicate from us, and that is something which is for us to be proud of. So it's a fascinating thing that I think sometimes we take for granted. We don't realize what we've got, and so often I think that not enough people appreciate or look into their heritage, and until it's much further down the line. You know, we have there's an old joke that in Israel, after the army, so you send out all the the Israelis before they start university. They like to go off and they like to go and see the world. So where do they go? They go to India, they go to the Far East. They want to see all the different cultures. They want to see all the different pagan practices and deities, because it's enriching, to see, the way other people practice their faith. The only thing that they don't explore is Judaism. Every ism they explore except Judaism, which is such a crying shame that they come back and they haven't actually appreciated what they have, which is right under their noses. And conversely, when you go to the Western Wall, as we've all done, very often you'll see people that are standing there that are not from Israel, and yet have come to experience and to witness and to see firsthand the great magnificence of the Jewish people and the where the temple once stood in the Western Wall. So it's very much, I think, something which is a message for us to take to heart. Sometimes things which are closest to us we don't appreciate. When something is further away, then we seem to think that it's something more to appreciate. And in fact, the Gateshead Rav, or the former Gateshead Rav, Rav Zimmerman, once said that it's like, people will say grass is always greener on your neighbor's grass. It's always greener on the other side. Well, says Rav Zimmerman, the grass is always greener on the other side until you go close. And when you go close and you look and analyze or scrutinize the grass of your neighbor, which is probably white or brown now, but in a regular year, you'll see that between the blades of grass, there are weeds. And therefore, from a distance, what other people have and other people's cultures and other people's traditions, it may look very, very luring and appealing, but really the beauty that we have is right under our noses, and it's something that we should embrace and celebrate every day, especially Parshas Vayeschanan. Tomorrow, please God, will be a special Tu B'Av message. It's a kind of quasi-festive day tomorrow, so we'll be speaking about that. But let's carry on with a memorial prayer. I'm wonderful to see so many people tuning in. I presume that you are all away, since no one seems to be on the streets of Woodside Park, so it's lovely to see you. Good morning, Caroline, Carol, Andrea, Richard, and looking good, and Peter, and of course, as Richard has said, remember the sunblock is meant to be very hot today. Memorial prayer. Adon Olamim Zachoes Nishmoi Jalchuri Olamam Manabal Rachamim Tasrei B'Seisa Kanafech Olamim V'Tisol Zachaim Tishmatzam V'Yanufam Mishkvatzam B'Shalom V'Nomar Amen. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Lastly, Refuah Shlema prayer for all those that are unwell. Mi sheberach Avosenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivarach Pesach Chaylim Vavu Shanim Mispalim Bavu Ram Mizal Zagaj Brochen Yimalei Rachem Eleihem Rachem Posam Mishlach Refuah Shlema Shemaim Lechol Reim B'Sol Shach Yisrael Refuah Sanefesh Refuah Sakov Hashavak Zmak Rib and Amar Amen. Have a great day, everyone. keep drinking, look after yourselves. For those that are away and tuning in, have a great summer and a good rest. Remember, this Friday is the last. We'll be having a week's break so that we can all recharge our batteries. And looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, the final one of the before the break for the summer holiday. So tomorrow is 9 a.m. Take care. See you tomorrow.